Now, welcome to another Weekend Ramble, where this time we're going to talk a little bit about fan service, Easter eggs, that sort of thing. Kind of brought on by Andor. Mm-hmm. A lot of people spotted what is potentially Starkiller's armor in Luthen's shop.
Right.
And to contrast against that, of course, we know that going into Andor, we heard from Tony Gilroy that there wasn't going to be fan service in this show, that it was going to be, the show first and then Star Wars kind of second. I mean, first of all, what do you think the definition of fan service is? Because it kind of gets thought of a lot of times as this very negative thing, that it's a bad thing, that it's kind of intrinsically bad. And I mean, we're not talking anime fan service. I always like to bring that up.
Yeah, anime fan service is all TNA.
Yeah, that's the original kind of, terminology came from, certain things in anime. But that, we're talking about fan service in terms of, modern kind of Western, pop culture shows, I guess you could say, in movies.
Well, see, it depends on how much people like the show as to how they use the term fan service, I think.
Yes.
And how it's done. Because obviously, when people are saying fan service, they're generally saying it as a complaint.
Yes, generally. It seems to be...
If it's an Easter egg, people are generally referring it to as something good.
Positive, yes. It's funny how that works, right?
But some cases, those terms are interchangeable.
I think Easter eggs are normally thought of as something more subtle.
Yes, something subtle in the background.
Yeah, it's usually a background thing that if you don't know what it is, you're not missing anything. Whereas fan service usually has something to do with the plot of the story or a major character showing up. Or it kind of, I've always kind of thought of fan service as, kind of the opposite of just plot service. You kind of have to do this balancing act if you're going to be in any kind of franchise like Star Wars where, you obviously have to focus on the plot. But if you're making Star Wars, you do have to, make it Star Wars, right? And so there's this kind of balance between the two. Balance between just being straight for the plot and being something that the fans kind of appreciate because it is Star Wars. So for me, bad fan service is something that tips the scales too far, where it's no longer where the plot is kind of, if you can imagine a scale in your head where the plot is the one up in the air and the fan service is the, the one down towards the ground, that it's being weighed down by the fan service and the plot is kind of being lost. For me, that's the best way I can describe good fan service versus bad fan service, that it doesn't take away from the plot, that it doesn't outweigh it, that you're not like, oh my god, look at that character, and you're completely forgetting that it has to be relevant to the story.
Right. Unfortunately, they like to put in this really jarring fan service, like the one from Rogue One, where you're like, wait, why are the...
Yeah, that's the one I always kind of cite as just being blatantly dumb and
stupid,
needless. Yeah,
there it is in your face.
Yeah. I'm talking about Ponda Baba and Dr. Evazan showing up. I always bring that one up as an example because it's just like that. There's no reason for that whatsoever.
Rando, yeah. Yeah. I do find it funny that we have twisted the term of fan service so much because it is originally related to Japanese anime and nudity and sexual nature and stuff.
It's
literally there for the fans to kind of
and kind of more.
But yeah, fan service is something that's added in intentionally to please an audience. Intentionally.
Yeah, intentionally. Mm-hmm. But like I said, if you're going to do something...
that didn't do it.
But if you're going to do something like Star Wars, like you do, that's going to happen no matter what. If you don't have any fan service at all, if it's so devoid of anything that's recognizable as being Star Wars, then is it even Star Wars? We've had this discussion before, too. And that's why I kind of found, going into Andor, I was really curious about some of the things Tony Gilroy was saying, because, we don't want fan service. We don't want people to think of this as Star Wars first. But then why be in Star Wars? If you depart yourself so far from any of the ideas or kind of known concepts of Star Wars, well then why are you making a Star Wars show? Just make your own thing. And we could get into a discussion about something like Rings of Power. Like you've gone so far from the lore. I always see people saying, just enjoy it for what it is. It's kind of based off of that. Well then, why? What is the point of basing it off of, say, Tolkien's mythology if you're not really dealing with Tolkien's actual mythology? You're just using the name then. And I mean, like I said, I don't want to go into that whole discussion right now, but that's my biggest problem. Like, Tolkien's mythology it's beloved, right? Mm-hmm. You're telling me it's going to be not just based off of that, but it's going to be, in this world. And then you're like, well, no, we're actually going to do our own thing with it.
Well, you could argue that's why Disney bought Star Wars.
Well, yeah, they did it. They bought it to use it to make money. That's as plain and simple as we can put it, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't buy it because we love Star Wars and we want to honor the fans and honor Lucas. No. They bought it because they knew they could make a ton of money. And they have. Not as much as they could have, I think, but they've made a ton of money.
I think that's why I prefer Easter eggs to fan service. Fan service is so blatant, but Easter eggs are just kind of sneaky background things that if you catch it, if you saw it, you feel like extra special because you know what something is. It's cool.
Easter eggs are such a funny thing to me because you have these... Look, no disrespect to anybody who does this in their videos, but there's so many videes, once a show drops, like 240,000 Easter eggs you missed in the latest episode of Andor. And it's like, but if you missed them, what then they didn't mean anything to you, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe you missed it because you just didn't visually notice it or something. I get that, but I see all these videos that are always trying to point out Easter eggs to people who don't even know what the Easter eggs are, so it kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
It does in a way, because the Easter eggs are really meant to be put in there for the sharp-eyed fan to look and go, oh, I know what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a fun nod to...
something I already know and would notice that maybe others wouldn't, that isn't so blatantly, like I said, fan service is more blatant, I think, kind of the terminology, if you want to separate the two. It's something pretty much anybody's going to notice because it's part of the actual story. Mm-hmm. Because
it's pointed out to you.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, the having Starkiller's armor in the background, that's an Easter egg. It was back there, and if you saw it, you saw it. If you didn't, you didn't.
But I think Easter eggs also can have a downside, because now, of course, the discussion is that actually Starkiller's armor? And what does that mean? Is he canon now in the Disney canon? Is he coming back? Is that a sign we're going to get a story with him?
Well, come on. They made a squad in The Rise of Skywalker named after Revan.
Well, sure, but that was actually in like a visual dictionary. That's not actually in the movie itself, per se. You can say it is. But it's still
something that they mentioned and never did anything with again.
So. Well, sure. Well, that's kind of my point, right? But that's, again, you'd have to read the visual dictionary to know they even did that. This is something you can visually see in the show, which is more than just some random person deciding after the fact, I'm going to call one of these legions the Revan Legion, just to do it. This was intentionally put into the show at the time of filming. Now, does Tony Gilroy or any of the directors or writers actually know what this was? That's an interesting question, because Gilroy is a self-confessed not Star Wars expert.
So this is something that somebody said, hey, put this in, you're doing an art gallery, put this in there.
Yes.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean...
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I think it... Not to interrupt you, I'm sorry.
It's all right. I'm used to it.
I know. Again, I'm rambling. I'm mansplaining for her, but... But again, the problem is you have so many people now speculating, like, what does it mean? What is it? It could mean absolutely nothing.
That's what Easter eggs generally mean.
Yeah, that's
why... Sometimes they allude to a little bit of a foreshadow of something to come, but generally, they're just there to be there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I think that's kind of the double-edged sword of using Easter eggs, because then you're like, whoa, wait a minute. That means we're going to see Starkiller in it? Because, let's be honest, Starkiller is important in the EU, I suppose. He's an important part of the rebellion, right? The formation of the rebellion. So it's one of those things where it's so on the nose that you're like, well, wait a second. Is this actually going to mean something?
No, but...
No, exactly. Probably not.
Probably not. It's the fan service that, like I said, it's so weird because it has such a negative connotation for us.
Yes.
Easter eggs equal good, sneaky, fun little surprises.
Yeah, fan service
equals bad because it means you're trying too hard or something.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it. Usually when you call something fan service, it's them trying too hard to please the fans, where it needs to be more subtle, which the Easter egg is the epitome of subtleness, because it's usually, like I said, background. Maybe you notice it, maybe you don't even notice it.
That's why, like Tony Gilroy said, like if he has cameos or anything like that, they're going to make sense. He doesn't want them labeled as fan service because we label fan service as bad, even though it could still be looked at as fan service.
Yeah,
because it is something in there to please the fans.
Yeah, because we've discussed that there are characters that would make sense to show up in this. We've discussed how a character like Ahsoka would make sense. One of the first Fulcrum agent, actually. I mean, for all we know, Mon Mothma's talking about bringing in Ahsoka, right? Even though she's more aligned with Bail Organa at this time, at least according to the Ahsoka novel, or should be. But considering this timeline is overlapping with Rebels, and we already know Ahsoka is communicating with Hera, so who knows? Who knows what's going on? Who Mon Mothma could be talking about? Do I think it's Ahsoka? Probably not, but potential's there. Potential's there to see her in the series at some point.
I am very curious. I know this is off topic. Does Mon Mothma know that Bail is already kind of operating a rebel cell?
Well,
he's got a Fulcrum agent that he probably is working with in particular.
I think one would assume that, because we just kind of assume those two from the early days of this, the delegation of 2000 and back when the Empire's first taking over, some of the deleted scenes and, the return.
They were deleted, though.
Some of the deleted scenes in Revenge of the Sith. I almost said Return of the Sith, but it could be called that too, I suppose. I would assume they know each other and are kind of working together, but there's no way of knowing that they know each other has gone kind of beyond just the talking phase, that they're actually
beyond standing up for things in the Senate together.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, they may be allies in the Senate, but don't realize that both of them are doing things behind the scenes, because it is, as we see in this episode, it's dangerous. Like, they are being watched like hawks. So if you have two senators who are, openly kind of probably opposing the Empire, or maybe not so openly opposing them, but saying things that are not very Empire friendly, those two getting together and talking is going to be closely observed. So they may not know the extent of each other's, involvement in the rebellion. They may be pleasantly surprised to learn that they're both doing their own thing and growing their own little rebellion.
I mean, honestly, I'm going to have to relook at the book Leia, Princess of Alderaan. It kind of goes over the growing up of Leia, and she, at one point, thinks her dad is acting shady and discovers her dad kind of working with a rebel cell. I don't remember, though, offhand, if Mon Mothma was mentioned at all or not.
I don't think she was, but I don't remember either.
I don't remember how much into it. It was near the end-ish of the novel, so...
Yeah, that's actually Holdo's first appearance, too, where she was
actually nice in that.
She's actually the kind of this weird, eccentric kind of character, and wasn't bad in it at all.
Weird, eccentric.
Yeah, I was kind of like,
Leia's best friend.
I was like, she should be cool in The Last Jedi, and then I was like, nope, she's not. No, she is not. But yeah, to sum it up, it seems like fan service equals bad. That's just a bad
Easter
word.
Eggs are good.
But Easter eggs equals good, even though they can sometimes lead to speculation that maybe frustrates people. Right. So I think people are going to be upset if this is the only time we ever see Starkiller. A hint at Starkiller, mind you. We don't even know that that's Starkiller's armor.
No, it could just be, this is the armor of such and such tribe.
Yes.
I mean, why, if it was Starkiller's armor, why does he have it? How is he trying to sell it to people? hey, this armor? This belonged to the secret apprentice of Darth Vader.
I think you just hit the nail on the head. If it is, that is, hey, I'm going to give you a mini round of applause. Because if that is, I mean, I'm sad I didn't think of it, and I haven't seen anybody else think of it. I'm sure someone else has. But if that is Starkiller's armor, what is the value behind it? Because nobody would, outside of the rebellion and some people in the Empire, I suppose, and Darth Vader himself, it has no value, right? Nobody's like, Luthen's not going to be, come here, I want to show you the apprentice of Vader's armor, and he helped kind of start the rebellion. Like, you want to buy this? Like, what? Who? What?
If anything, you're going to get the Empire's attention pretty darn quick.
Yeah. Yeah, you are.
Vader stops at your shop, he opens the door, ding ding, the bell rings. I hear you have something that belonged to me once.
Yes, my apprentice's armor. I don't know why I'm speaking like that, but... No, it doesn't really make sense for that to be Starkiller's armor when you stop and think about it. It was there for the fans
to see and be excited and be like, look, there it is. That's something we recognize. Fancy Easter egg. But even the time doesn't line up 100%. I mean...
No, it doesn't make any sense.
You're not pitching that armor very well. It belonged to some tribe or something.
Yes.
He sells... relics.
Yeah, he sells... I'm assuming he sells ancient, antiquities.
Or artistic things.
Yeah.
Just like everyone saw that there was some stone tablets that had some circles on them.
Yeah.
And I've seen all these videos. I didn't click on them. I don't have time. But I see all these videos that are trying to link it to like the Jedi temple that was on Lothal, because it also had circles.
Oh. See?
Come on, it's a rock. I'm just saying, unless they specifically tell us what it is, we can guess all day, all night. We won't know. It's just something that they like found in the parking lot, and they're like, "Hey, put this in Luthen's shop, and it's cool."
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of things are like, hey, that looks interesting. Just put it in the background. I mean, that's basically what they did with the first Star Wars movie, right? Just put some model kits together and make it look interesting, and there we go. So the tradition continues, I think.
Right. They were like, look, it's so cool. It's probably from an ancient Jedi temple. Again, how is he selling it? The Empire's not going to let you keep your business license when you're selling Jedi artifacts. Why do you think the necklace he was wearing, he kept secret under his clothes?
Yeah.
Because walking around with that is a symbol of rebellion to them.
Yes, a piece of Kyber, essentially.
Yeah. They'll come for you.
They will come for you. I mean, we know that the Empire is actively seeking out Jedi temples and stuff and trying to destroy any remnant of them.
So why would they want this dealer down here selling glorified Jedi artifacts when the Jedi were evil and bad and we should wipe them from history?
They tried to overthrow the Senate and
we're wiping them from history.
Tried to kill the Chancellor. I mean, they are the bad guys in the story, right? Mm-hmm. All right, well, that is all we got for you this time. So take to the comments below. Tell us what you think of fan service and Easter eggs, and tell us what you think about Starkiller's armor in the background. Does that just absolutely make no sense whatsoever to be actually Starkiller's armor when you stop and think about it? Whatever the case may be, leave your comments below. Let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thank you for watching.